Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today we're going to be doing a comparison between two units who are kind of the same and kind of not the same. So we recently got the new EX Hinata, and the majority of players are not overly enthused with her kit. For reasons of pertaining to as part of the entire meta. So, as a support unit for the Dark Milim, she is slightly lacking in her output when compared to other support units. She can still support Milim, that's totally fine. I'm not doubting that she can give Milim crits because of her crit skill right here. But there are other units who can do that alongside giving other things. So, she also has the triple orb steal. Well, if you break it down into its most basic components, you have a single target damage dealer who has a triple orb steal and a self buff, being her crit, and then a secondary buff which is dependent on another unit, being the charm strike. Now, this very much reminds us of Light Shuna, because she also is a single target DPS, who also has a triple orb steal, who also has a personal attack buff, being the light attack, and who also has a damage buff that is dependent on another unit, being crit damage. So Hinata needs someone to charm somebody to gain that 40% charm strike, and Shuna needs someone to give her crits to get that 50% crit damage. Now, both Hinata and Shuna's effects last for 2 turns. The crit lasts for 2 turns on Hinata, and the charm strike lasts for 2 turns. Light Shuna's light attack lasts for 2 turns, and the crit damage for 2 turns. So, why then are people so upset, myself kind of included, with the Hinata when she is essentially a physical Shuna, right? Essentially. Well, let's find out today. Let's do a direct comparison in a type-neutral setting, as type-neutral as we can get, because someone is always going to be more weak to magic or more weak to physical, so we'll just kind of have to find a good middle ground there. But as unbiased as we can make it, to see if Hinata is really as bad as it seems, or if she is just misunderstood. So let's get started. Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use this team right here. We have Protector Velzard, who is giving no additional stat increase to these 2 units, because when we're going into this stage, specifically, we're going to be using Shuna, and then the other stage we have identified is the Wind-Tempered Edge. But if we look, Leon has minus 20% magic, and he has 7,543 defense. And I've already checked, and neither him nor Velzard raised their defense in any way, shape, or form, so that number should remain constant. So 7,543. The other stage we're going to show off is in the Space 2.0 Tempered Edge for EX1, I believe. This Wind Milim right here has 7605 defense, which is, it's about as close as we're going to get. There's a 60-point difference, 62-point difference in defense. I can't find a better stage that has it close enough. But it has minus 20% physical resistance. So they both have minus 20 magic, minus 20 physical. They have very closely the same defensive stats, and I've gone through and made sure that the only thing that happens to Milim is she gets guard and she gets crit resistance, 10%. But we will be using, I believe, Fire Milim to seal that resistance. So we should be doing type-neutral damage in each stage with units that have very, very roughly, closely, the same attack stat, 10,863, 10,876. So very, very close, and we're going to just get their one ult, that's it, and we're going to test them with Hinata having the charm from Sufia, and then Shuna having the crit from Milim, who doesn't give any other resistance, it's just crit, flat across the board. Now, we understand that the crit damage from Shuna is going to be more impactful regardless of how much Charm Strike Hinata has, because 50% crit damage is going to just be inherently better than 40% Charm Strike, and even probably 60 or 70% Charm Strike, because the crit is a multiplier, and the Charm Strike, I'm pretty sure, is just additive to their total damage score. So we go into this knowing that Shuna's damage potential is going to be just higher, and there's nothing we can do about that because they're two different types of buffs. But I want to see how close they are in their respective, full damage quote-unquote setups, to see if there really is a difference, and to see if Hinata is just not a good support unit on her team, but a pretty good, DPS single target Dark unit, on a team that's generated towards her. So that's the whole goal of today, to see if she can roughly the same amount or even close to. But let's get started. I'll bring you in for just the noob turns because I don't know how long this is going to take to set up. Alright, well that didn't take very long for this part for Hinata. So we do have Milim with 7605 defense, so that didn't change. She does have crit resistance, but that's fine. We are not critting against this enemy, and she does have minus 20% physical resistance here. So we're going to nuke with Hinata, who, because she's an orb stealer for herself, she has an EX ult. So we will use the charm on just Milim, and then we will use Hinata's crit buff and then 40% charm strike. And we shall now see how much damage she does in this scenario with no other buffs active, no stacks of anything. It's just her neutral naked damage. And we can watch the ult too while we're at it. It's a good looking ult. She's a good looking girl in this bikini. I'm like, they got that on point. I have no qualms against her outfit. Just her being on the meta that she currently is. Because there's better options. 45,500 damage. Okay, well, that's good to know. And now we're going to take all these ults. So 45,500 is the number that we're looking for Hinata. So now let's go into the other stage and see what Shuna does in comparison. Alright, well, I know I said I was going to go into the Earth 2.0 Tempered Edge, but I forgot that even EX2, EX1 still murders a lot of units because it's supposed to be a defense-oriented stage, so they hit real hard. So I switched it up. We came into the very first Tempered Edge stage for, the original Earth team. And because Benimaru gives himself 20% defense, he actually is sitting at 75-62, which is not that far away from the Milim. And it's actually closer than what the Leon would have. So, and he also does have the 20% magic resistance down, so we can keep it as fair as possible. But we do have the EX ult with Shuna. We have enough points to use her buff, plus the crit seal right here, and the guaranteed crits. So the first number that Hinata did was 45,500 and change. So we are here to see now what Shuna can do. It's going to be more than 45. I'd probably put it closer to about 70, but, let's make sure for sure. So Shuna, we'll watch her ult as well, because we watched Hinata's. Her ult isn't near... it's still good, but she's not in a bikini. She was in a bikini last year, so I guess we can give her that. Melty Bride, and how much damage do we do here? 63. Okay, well, not quite 70k, but obviously more, because the crit modifier is just better than the charm strike. Which is, I expected Shuna to hit harder than Hinata. Does that mean that Hinata is a terrible single-target DPS unit? No. Alright, well, now that I'm not having a seizure from all the flashy lights, we can actually get down and dirty and kind of talk and review what has happened so far in this video. So, we tested the two units in the same kind of basic, unbiased setting where we had the same essential debuff, we had almost the same defense, and we gave them what they wanted as far as activating their own personal kits. And to follow up on the question that I posed at the very end before we cut, does this make Hinata a really, really bad unit? No, not really. Is she a viable single-target DPS unit for Dark? Very much so. She just needs something extra, which there are a few units that can give charm, right? We have the brand new Ramrus, who's part of the meta. We have the free-to-play Sufia, so that's two free-to-play units that can charm. And then we have the Space Xion, and then we have the Space Shinsha as well, who technically you could use Space Shinsha to also give Hinata a 70% alt buff because it's all packaged in right into one unit, which is fair. The number of units that can give crit, though, may be a little lower, maybe a little restricted, because Guy only gives it to physical units, and Shuna is not a physical unit. We have Fire Milim, who would give it, and then we have the Hero, who the Hero is the best unit in the game, and she gives everybody crits. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to understate that power, along with the Rewind. But there aren't too many other battle units besides, Water Shion that's going to actively give people crits that are unrestricted. So there are more units that give Charm than units that give everybody crit. That's a fair argument right there. Shuna does do more damage because the crit modifier and the light buff is a better combo than the Charm Strike and just having crits by itself. Right? So, again, Hinata is not a garbage unit in terms of her being a single target DPS. Now, if you were to ask me, do you think Hinata was a good pick and her kit was a good pick for the current meta as a whole, trying to buff Summer Milim, my answer would then change and be like, no, I kind of think she's weak. I kind of don't like her on the team. But that's not the point of the video, because I'm not looking at Shuna as a support unit, so I shouldn't be looking at Hinata as a support unit for this specific video. I'm looking at them as single-target DPSs for their respective typings, for their respective damage types being magic and physical, and I'd say that Hinata, can hold her own. If you put enough buffs and support around her, Hinata can hit just fine. We have a lot of physical supports. We have crit we have crit damage supports. We have, obviously the Charm, we have alt damage. We have a lot of things that we can give Hinata to make her look good, just like we have a lot of things to give Shuna to make her look good. So, is it fair to generalize Hinata into a crap unit? Again, no. It's just unfortunate that her kit doesn't mesh as well as I personally wanted it to in the whole setup of the Summer Memories meta, running this specific team, when I could swap out these 3 units, the entire front line, I could swap them out for units that have already come out months ago, and get much higher damage potential for Milim as a support case, right? Because this whole setup, we did it on Hinata Showcase, it did about 400,000 damage, versus if we put Violet instead of Romurus, it's 800,000, and if we put Guy, Violet, and Rimuru, it's 1.2 million for Milim. Like, very obviously much different team comps. But that's all to support Milim, not to support Hinata. Right? She's backup sub damage here, and not fair to, put her into this specific category and compare Shuna on her distinct team, and, Shuna is the DPS for that team. So, if you're gonna take anything from this video, is that if you're summoning for Hinata because you need a dark single target DPS, then fine. I mean, it makes sense. If you're summoning for Hinata because you want the full meta and you think she'll fit, and you have other support units, then I'd say, yeah, please don't do that, because she's not going to bring you a lot. And if you summon for Hinata because you think Hinata's hot and you like her in a swimsuit, well, then you've already summoned and you didn't need this video. But I think that was a fair comparison overall, and it does slightly change my opinion on her as far as my overall ranking of her goes. I still think Lumi is pretty meh, no matter what we do with her, so that's not going to change. But overall, I think this meta has 2 really good battle units, a really, really good protector, a very solid free-to-play unit, a pretty mid-support, and a mid-support but good single-target DPS somewhere else. So that's how I'd rate it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's it for me. Take it easy, guys, and I'll see you later.